just as an update, keep in mind that Netflix is having its own share of problems, not just Disney. Netflix arguably is having worse problems. Depending on who you ask is going to determine why that is the case. Some people are, of course, going to blame it on the quote-unquote woke stuff. They had a kind of a bad rap with some of the things that Netflix was doing and putting out. Some weird choices that they have, let's say, had in terms of shows that they're putting out there. So you have not even just the cuties things, stuff that's come out afterwards. But also, internally, they focused a lot on stuff that had absolutely nothing to do with making good material and everything to do with checking boxes. So what you saw was, remember they had that like diversity department basically is what it was. And then they fired all of they fired them all, and then all of them went on Twitter and got mad. It was a bunch of contractors that got fucking pissed off because they're like, oh man, this is not good. Y'all hired us for diversity and then you just let us go. It's like, well, when you're a diversity hire, of course you're going to be the worst to go when the bottom line needs to be met, right? But Netflix has gone through yet another series of firings. Now this time they're blaming it on slower revenue growth. Keep in mind, they were projected to, I think, make $2 million in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. There's something around that. They end up losing 300,000 subscribers. So that's, you're looking at a lot in terms of what was not accounted for. And it doesn't look like they're doing good going into the next quarters as well. So they're losing a lot of money. Netflix hasn't gone broke from getting woke, but it certainly seems to be hurting from it. I like that intro. Paul coming from Bounding into Comics says streaming giant has just fired 100 of its employees due to what they describe as slower revenue growth. Speaking of deadline on the 23rd, Netflix spokesperson confirmed that today we sadly let go of 300 employees. While we continue to invest significantly in the business, we made these adjustments so that our costs are growing in line with our slower revenue growth. We are grateful for everything they have done for Netflix and are working hard to support them. The entertainment news outlet further noted that according to the sources, while these cuts mostly impacted the teams in the United States, it also affected the company's office in the Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, African, and Latin America regions. News comes on the heels of Netflix showing the door to a number of personnel in May, which they let go of 150 employees then. And it said, as we explained on earnings, our slow revenue growth means we are also having to slow our cost growth as a company. The streaming giant, no, it's more than slow. You letting people go. The streaming giant explained in a statement issued to the news. So sadly, we are letting go around 150 employees today, mostly U.S. based. Further, as the marketing department restructuring taken in April, Netflix also previously laid off 25. This is the one I was talking about. 25 editorial staffers and contractors for the Tudum fan site division. Notably, all the staff reductions came after Netflix reported a loss first quarter of 200,000 subscribers. Yeah, that's what yeah. So again, the question then that a lot of people are going to ask, and rightfully so, is what has led to this? Now, if you talk to them, and definitely if you talk to a lot of the experts, they're never going to blame bad content. They're never going to blame lack of or bad direction. They'll never blame that. They'll blame, well, people got back to work, therefore they're not at home, they're not watching Netflix as much. It'll be everything but, okay, maybe the stuff that you're being putting out is not really interesting. Maybe it has more to do with you than it has to do with the audience. They'll never do that. But they're talking about here stuff that caused people to leave the streaming platform. You had the Masters on the Universe, bastardization, Cuties. I forgot about the Dear White People thing. Cowboy Bebop, yeah, those all sucked. and they end up losing money. Also, that's another one. They're going to blame other streaming platforms. It says, however, it wasn't just them. In May 2021, media mogul Barry shared his opinions with CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin that Netflix has won a streaming war several years ago. Well, apparently they have not. Now, I will say this. I don't think that, it's only the fact that they put bad material out or what people deem as woke stuff. But that's a significant portion of it that has to be considered if you are to be honest and real with yourself. That was not a great move. They're hyper-emphasizing of that, and I think a lot of it's more of the entertainment, like I said before, where you're going to see it the most. You're going to see the problems show itself, the economic problem show itself there before you ever see it in other things that, I don't know, people more so need, right? Because with entertainment, it's not needed. It's an outlet. It's something that could easily be replaced for so many people. So when people figure that they don't need you anymore. So the place where folks that want to, I don't know, not give people money, the easiest place to do that is going to be in entertainment. So what you're seeing with like Disney right now, what you're seeing with Netflix, what you're seeing with some of these other companies, that's the case. But they'll never admit that it's a content problem. They'll never admit that it's something that they did to themselves, because that would then have to admit that they were wrong. So just let it fall. Let it go wherever it's going to go. And if that's in the tank, it's in the tank. But let it go where it's going to go. But if they're going to keep doubling down on all this other stuff, let them do it. Let them do it. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on YouTube.com/YoungRipper59 and Odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, EricDJuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.